There's a certain spirit at Harvest Manitoba that you don't find anyplace else.
Every person, every staff here, when they have contact with someone, a volunteer or a client, or even among the staff, we try always to support.
What I see right now, happening right now, is an increase in need for the food bank. More people need the food bank.
They're my support system. I love it here.
You walk into the building and you can feel it. You can see it in the way people interact with each other. Half the time, I don't even think people know who's crew and who's not.
For many millions of pounds of food distributed to the hungry each year, well over 7,000 households each month.
It's all surplus clean food. So you can see what a waste, if we arrange to get this brought and handled and delivered, what a wasteful society we are. And there's people going hungry. And that's all Winnipeg Harvest does, is take surplus food, gives it to people who are hungry. Simple.
Here, a group of junior high students from a middle upper income suburb learn about hunger in our community. David Northcott, Executive Director of Winnipeg Harvest.
We can never guarantee we've got all the nutritious food items we need.
My name is Deb Swereda. I've worked at Harvest Manitoba since January 10th, 2000. I started off as a volunteer. I started actually being a paid staff in the agencies department and then moved over to the client services department as the manager. So there are about 115 food banks inside the city of Winnipeg currently. They are divided up into Harvest Manitoba registry food banks, and then there are what we call self-registry food banks. We also have the final group that's called an emergency food bank. We have a few food banks throughout the city that give us 20 spots or 15 spots. We use those for clients that are new to Harvest Manitoba to get them into an appointment as soon as possible and then move them to the food banks in their community.
My name is Susan Brown, and I coordinate the food bank here at St. Mary Anglican Church, the Caring and Sharing Food Bank. I've been involved with Harvest running the food bank since 2014. Our parish discovered that there was a need in this area. The population wasn't being serviced, so we took a look at our resources, our volunteer resources, our space, and we decided that we would be a great location to be able to help out, to deal with the food security issue of those in our neighborhood. Every moment and every day is different, and every day you just get re-energized by the people that you meet. We started off small and we've since grown. We've doubled in capacity to help Harvest to meet their mandate. That was specifically during the COVID time when the need was just growing exponentially. Harvest has been great in being able to facilitate how that could happen. Well, we've really begun to form a community here. A lot of our clients are regular clients, and a lot of them have been with us for the past 10, 11 years. We serve 100 clients a month. We also service walk-in clients, recognizing that life is difficult and you never know what is going to happen tomorrow. So we run generally about 30 to 40 walk-in clients a month as well. We see more working clients now than we probably did before. So we cover a wide range of need, right from people who just can't quite make it to the next payday, all the way to people who come from the encampments that are in the area and are facing housing issues as well. Well, it's always interesting. Food, of course, is what brings us together, but connection is huge.
Fact. In Winnipeg, over 10,000 families are struggling to feed themselves each day. Almost half of them are children. Fact. In our city each year, Winnipeg Harvest gathers and distributes 2 million pounds of food to those in need. Fact. For every dollar it receives, Winnipeg Harvest moves $20 worth of food. For more information on how you can help, call Winnipeg Harvest, 233-0073. Remember, hunger pains year-round. Please share the harvest.
My name is Colleen McVarish. I am the Director of Partnership and Development, and I help raise the funds to keep Harvest Manitoba operational. Lee Newton started Harvest back about 1983, and she saw it was a food bank in New York City that was reclaiming food, going to the dump that was still edible, and giving it to homeless people. And she goes, wouldn't that be a wonderful thing to do in Winnipeg? And 2 years later, in 1985, Harvest Manitoba opened. At that time, it's called Winnipeg Harvest. Lee designed the logo herself as she was a graphic designer. Prior to it actually opening, she had really a difficult time getting it started and getting people to take her seriously. So she had known David Northcott and had a conversation with him. And between the two of them, in that 2-year period, they got Winnipeg Harvest off the ground. But not on the day it was supposed to. The day it was supposed to open, Space Shuttle Challenger exploded, which was a tragedy, and both Lee and David thought that would be not a very good time to be opening up a food bank because the media were all really paying attention to that tragedy. So they waited a while and they ended up opening it July 1st, 1985, which is actually Lee's birthday, so that's why they chose that day.
I'm Siri McCaulder. I'm the eldest daughter of David and Kathy Northcott. Harvest has been my younger sibling since 1984 when it was established. I remember it being temporary. Had Lee come to my dad, who was working at a community center at that point, they got together and they were going to do this temporary initiative that the city had surplus food and hungry people. So they were going to unite those two pieces. Little did we know that it grew pretty large, and the need was there still to this day, 40 years later. I remember it being a small warehouse in St. Boniface, across from Club St. B. We were there all the time. There was maybe 4 staff, and their kids would be there. We'd play in the park across the street. We would sit at the Club St. B and have wonton soup while my dad was having a meeting and essentially begging for food. I did not realize how big it would get. I think keeping it to a really grassroots, community-based, not-for-profit. He was able to bring that model through to Food Banks Canada, who would almost recognize that and try to build that as a cross-Canada model. He involved smaller groups, he involved churches, he involved corporate, he involved the people that were using the food bank. And I think that's what we're proudest of, is the community come together to help each other.
Nancy, when people hear that the banks are booming, they assume you're talking about financial institutions. But the sad reality is that Canadian food banks have never been busier. 3 million Canadians used food banks last year. That's 1 person in 10. The numbers are rising. The people who run Canada's food banks say you'd be surprised who needs food. David Northcott is Executive Director of Winnipeg Harvest. That's a food bank and distribution center. Good morning to you. Mr. Northcott, there's an impression that only people on welfare are using the food banks, but you say that's not true. Who are your clients?
No, 10 years ago, you could say that and be 95% accurate. Most folks on the safety net were using the food bank. Now the experience we've had in Canada, and specifically in Manitoba, is that about almost 25% of the client base in Winnipeg Harvest are people who declare work as their primary source of income. Quite discouraging.
My name is Rina Hermkins. I've been with Harvest since 2013. Before Harvest, I was a single mom. I had a very hard time making ends meet. I'd go to the food bank and resource food. Skipping years later, I was addicted, lost my child. When I was homeless, me and my boyfriend at the time, we pitched a tent and we put it behind Harvest. At that time in 2013, there was no parking lot. It was all field. And we put our tent in there and we were living there. And one morning we had a knock at our tent door and it was David Northcott. And he asked us, would you come into Harvest and talk? I thought we were going to get arrested. I thought the police were going to come and rip up our tent, because back then the police would just slice the tents. But instead, David introduced us to the staff. He said, these are my people, what they want, give it to them, help them out.
The biggest challenges that when I first started at Harvest was There was no fundraising staff other than Lee herself and another individual, Bruce Michalski. They weren't really doing events, and they were just halfway into their first empty bowl celebrity auction, and it was being held at the gate on Roblin, and it was a $25 ticket. So I came in, tried to put a committee together. As of 2025 will be our empty bowl celebrity auction again. It took a hiatus since 2019, but we're bringing it back. The empty bowl celebrity auction was Lee's brainstorm. She thought to get bowls signed by celebrities. The first year it was pretty much just local TV personalities or anybody that was coming through the city of Winnipeg at the time, MTS Centre, and they would sign the bowl and people would bid on them, and the thought is to leave that bowl empty to represent people in our province that may not have stuff to put in their soup bowl.
The world record for the most amount of food collected in a 24-hour period. A title held by the Giants, gathering more than 100 tons of donated goods last year. The challenge now is for Winnipeg to beat Regina's world record at 50 tons. That is Kindzierski. 8 teams will spend weeks planning for the Blitz to see who can build the coolest thing with canned food. At the same time, Winnipeg will try to break the world record. The real winners are the food drinks, where the food eventually ends up.
For Winnipeg Harvest to see the corporate sector mobilizing an event of this scale is truly overwhelming.
The Kindzierski Build Day takes place at Polo Park on October 11th, with events geared at collecting canned goods, running until the final weigh-in October 20th and 21st.
I'm Armande Leclair. I'm a retired teacher. I was in teaching for 33 years in principalship, and my husband was involved with the beginnings of Accueil Cateri Food Bank, and that's how I got involved. That's when I realized that people need food. Back then, it was more like 30 households, which has now become 109, 110. Where I was teaching, we never really experienced many families that couldn't afford to give a good breakfast to their children and have a lunch ready for them until I heard some of the stories that were coming from the school here. That was a real push for me to get more involved with the food bank. They need food. They have to eat. They have to have breakfast. They have to have lunch. People on EIA, EI, disability, single parents, retired, like 65 and older, that can't afford, with a pension, with OAS, they can't afford to buy food or enough food. Basically, that's the people that we see here.
Advocacy is really very important, I think, because we have some clients that have accessed the food bank for a long time. Looking at their lives and what affects them and how we can help in the bigger picture, I think is really important, because it shouldn't be a legacy. Using food banks should not be your legacy, that this is what you're going to have to do for the rest of your life. So I think what Harvest Manitoba can do is take a look at why people are using food banks. Is it level of income? Is it jobs? Is it the food prices? Like, what is it? What is it? How can we help? Being here to hand out somebody food is amazing. It's excellent. But like the old saying is, if you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. If you teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime, right? So, I mean, the training program we have offered here and different things like that, I think is really important.
My name is Wilson Peinado. As Vice President of Operation, I oversee all the operations. That means warehouse, fleet, facilities, and now we are getting into procurement as well. When I started here, like about 12 years ago, we were a small group. There was a small fleet, and it was back then Winnipeg Harvest. The warehouse training program is a program that we initiated back in 2015. We took advantage of the facilities per se. We have computer lab, we have areas where the participants can get hands-on practice. We initiated with volunteer trainees and volunteer trainers as well. Nowadays what we offer is an evolved type of program with the support of different organizations. We are able to get the trainees to be trained for 6 weeks here and it's a mix of in classroom sessions and hands-on practice in our warehouse, which is great for us because it's extra pair of hands to support us in our daily operation while they are getting trained to find a job as well. And the training program support the trainees to improve their skills and also be prepared mentally and financially to find employment. Or one of our plans in strategic plan is we are the food bank, the Manitoba's food bank. So to get to that point is we need to get contact to every corner of the province, basically. We need to make sure all these communities are supported one way or another.
Best thing that he ever did show us was the volunteers, the jobs you can do. And I was so intrigued. We would use every day, and when we started to come to harvest and volunteer, we wouldn't use that day. So there'd be one day a week that we didn't use, and then we liked it, we came back 2 days a week. And that's how we slowly got off drugs and off the streets, was because we were spending our time here. We would leave at the end of the day with a loaf of bread, some potatoes that carried us for the next day. We were able to have a warm lunch in the day. I'm on a limited budget. I don't know, I want to buy meat in my budget. So I wait till I get my food bank. If I get potatoes, then I'm going to buy pork chops and I'll have cream corn from harvest. Or if I get spaghetti, then I'll buy hamburger. If I get rice, I'll buy chicken. So I know what to buy, what kind of meat to buy because of what I got from harvest. And that I don't have to spend extra money on. And I can actually have a better meal because I've gotten that help. From day one, I was left here with a good feeling, like I did something positive. Like if I did potatoes that day, then that meant someone's gonna have potatoes tomorrow. My spirituality and my sobriety, harvest, they have a big play in it. It's unspoken support that the people have here, the camaraderie. I'm always up for giving back because that's what they do, they give back.
So we've really gotten to know people and they've become more friends than clients. And just by getting to know people and by knowing what their needs are and listening to their stories, we've been able to fill some of the gaps for them. We run a community garden, which allows those who are interested to grow their own produce so that they have an easily accessible supply of organic produce. They work hard to bring that about, but it's all up to them. We have started a free store, which we collect from the community, small household items, clothing, which we then provide free of charge for the clients as they come to food bank. We have also started a drop-in on the alternate weeks to food bank running, where we provide a free meal, a lunch. We do it in the afternoon, and then we just provide a time of socializing. It could be board games, bingo, crafts. It's all driven by the desires of the clients, of what they'd like to see happen, but it provides a time for them to get away and just be social.
It gives me a couple extra days. So if it's closer to payday, then it gets me going till payday. The people here are amazing. This food bank is awesome. They even have a free store downstairs.
It improves my quality of life. I get out. We get good meals here. And they have a store downstairs with free clothes and stuff. So that helps a lot. And I just like coming here. Everybody's great. All the volunteers are fabulous.
Trying to buy groceries with everything that's going on in the world today, I would say it definitely helps in between pay periods. So yeah, I would definitely say it's a great place. The people are nice. The fellowship of the church is nice, the people that come here.
Well, it's helped me a lot with the food and that. Great fellowship. I love to eat here a lot. I just love it. It's great to be around. Lots of new people to meet. That's it. Oh, it's showtime.
Harvest had made my life a lot easier by coming here every month and seeing the same faces and socializing with everyone after we eat. And we get really good things, and I enjoy it here.
I saw it as a Band-Aid solution, a short-term solution to the problem. And I find it very difficult to see how the demand has grown. And, my dream has always been that we would be open for a short time, and my dream was the day that our doors would be closed because there was a lack of need. And quite the contrary, the demand is just doubling year after year.
Whenever I find Harvest seems to be in a little bit of financial problems or there's something just not happening right, I believe that Lee is I'm getting goosebumps. Lee is overlooking us, like she's up there looking down on us, and things just work out. Like if we need something, all of a sudden it just appears. And it's like her sense is saying, oh, I got to make sure that my dream doesn't fail, and it comes alive. She was a wonderful woman. I think the values that back then and even when I started, everybody cares so much to make sure we all do our best to make sure no Manitoban goes hungry. And I believe those values will stick with Harvest forever. I always say it feels like I'm coming to my second home, even though it's just a job, but the personalities and the people around, it's almost like one big large family making better in the world in Manitoba.
I think they've had to move with the times of how our community is suffering, essentially. There's more and more kids that are going to school hungry. It's an atrocity. But then they've created meals to go, which gives them food on the weekends. They've had to adjust with the times to understand the breadth of the poverty situation. Unfortunately, it's grown. They've moved into the north to be able to alleviate a lot of that suffering and just bringing in that right to food that everyone has. The soul of this place is grassroots, and I don't think that's ever changed. Right down from the top to somebody that's come in and had to use the food bank once, there's a compassion for each other. There's a desire to resolve the issue, and there's an openness that they're listening to different ideas and different community needs. And I think that's never changed. The soul of Harvest is definitely the people and what makes it special. Not that I want to celebrate that it's been here for 40 years. I think we need to recognize that we are saddened it's here for 40 years, but kids these days, I think, can just be raised in such bubbles of their own little worlds, and I want them to see the real world, the good, the bad, and the ugly, but mostly the good. And this is a good place to show them that.
There's a risk to be able to blame people for being poor. I think we have to fight that edge sometimes and go back to the center part of Winnipeggers, which is a real loving community. All the food banks is the community's attempt to survive. And this is the measure of survival, and the energy to survive is measured in the kind of effort it takes to run this place. Over 144,000 volunteer hours keep this place going, and of that, 85% of people use the food bank. It feels good to be able to work side by side with folks who have got far bigger, crushing issues in their lives, and they're doing it really well with dignity and with a loving spirit. I mean, that picks you up so much that you sort of walk out of here in cloud nine some days. That's great. I want to be able to talk to my kids and say I'm doing the best I can in the community. I'm trying my best to make this place a better place, and for selfish reasons, for my kids.
I see Harvest as the organization in the middle, getting all this support. We are thinking about the food transformation hub. Any donation is welcome. Any donation can change lives.
Harvest is not just about food. It is community, and it is helping others. They just have information and support for people that need it, and Harvest is growing in that sense.
The heart of what makes Manitoba Harvest special, I think, is Vince's catchphrase is always, it takes a community to feed a community. And I think we're very fortunate to be on the front line of what that means.
The future of Harvest for me would be that we could actually close our doors. That was David and Lee's wish, is just to be temporary. That will never be temporary, so I just hope for the future that we always have the funds and the food to make sure no Manitoban goes hungry.
One of the things I feel, and I've always felt since the moment I walked in here, is the different people from different walks of life. And because we have such a wide range of people that come to volunteer or to work for Harvest Manitoba, I think that we get a really good reflection of the people that we serve.
Happy 40th anniversary.